On this video, I would like to do a continuation now of what we have done in Revelation 13. We have done a grammatical analysis of verses 1 to 11, and now I would like to continue doing a grammatical analysis with commentary of verses 11 to 18. And what we'll do is read the Greek text, then look at the grammar, and discuss the possible meaning of the text. So I'm going to begin reading at verse 11. This is the second beast. We've done the first in a short while ago, on Revelation 13. Looking, I believe, at Domitian and what he was doing to the early Christians in emperor worship. Now we come to another beast, and notice it says, Kai edan ala therion, anabainon ektes gates. And I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. Again, Adon is the aorist indicative active, first person singular from charao. Anabainon is the participle, the present participle, a neuter accusative singular from anabino. So I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, kai akin kerata duo hamoya, and he had two horns like a lamb, but unlike the Lamb of God, he was speaking as a dragon. Kai alale from laleo, imperfect indicative active, third person singular. So he looks like a lamb, but he's speaking as a dragon. And his goal is to give authority to the first beast, or to highlight his authority. Kaitain exousion tu protu therio pasan poi enopion autu. And the authority of the first beast, all the authority he is doing before him. Notice here, poi is your present indicative active, third person singular from poi eo, and he is making kai poi tain gain. He's making all the earth. Poi is the present indicative active, third person singular from poi eo. He is making all the earth kai tus in aute katoi kuntas, and the ones who are dwelling down in it. Katoi kuntas is from katoi keo. It's a participle, the present active participle, accusative plural from katoi keo. So the ones dwelling down in it, he's causing them to worship the first beast. Hena plaskunesusin ta therion ta proton. In order that they shall worship, showing a purpose here, the first beast. So the earth dwellers are those that are not believers. And he's causing them, those that dwell down on the earth, that they will worship the first beast. Praskunesusin is your future indicative active, third person plural from praskuneo, and of whose wound of his death was healed, or of whose deathly wound of him was healed. Heterapeuthē is from therapeuo, the aorist indicative passive, third person singular. So this second beast is causing the world to bow down and worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. We talked about the idea that this could represent a Nero redivivus, a Nero revived in Domitian. And basically, he's causing those earth dwellers to worship the first beast, the emperor worship. And as the beast symbolizes the Roman Empire and the, can I say, in a real sense, they are really antichrist. It's really about the antichrist in Domitian at that time, it seems to me, that basically who was claiming to be divine. And the second beast then could represent, it seems, all of the local officials that are the, let's say, the political underlings of the beast, the emperor, that are bowing down to him and causing people to worship uh, Domitian. And they are doing great signs as well. And notice, and this, by the way, is the false prophet. They are prophesying a false Christ in Domitian. And it goes on to say, Kai poie semea magala, and he is doing great signs. Poie is your present indicative active third person singular from poieo, in order that he might make fire to come down out of heaven. Kaipur poie, poie is from poieo. It's the present subjunctive third person singular from poieo. So in order that he might make fire to come down unto the earth before men. Katabainen is the present active infinitive from katabaino. So he's doing, can I say, things, miracles, so to speak, that is impressing people who are observing these officials and what they are doing. And it's interesting. I don't think that John's intending real fire coming down from heaven, since we're looking at symbolism. It's using that to look at some type of sign or miracle that he is trying to do. I noticed that Metzger on page 75 of Breaking the Code wrote, this agent of the dragon promoted the worship of the emperor by means of all kinds of spectacular tricks of bogus religion. And he's even going to cause the image of the first beast to appear to be alive. And notice it says, again, by the way, all through time, there have been those who have elevated the people like Domitian and have done all kinds of, can I say, bogus signs to cause people to follow them. And we go on then in verse 14. Kai plana tus katoi kuntas epi tes ges. Diata semea ha edathe auto poiesai enopian tu theriu. That is, and he is deceiving the ones who are dwelling down upon the earth. Um, Plana is from planao, the present indicative active third person singular. He is deceiving the ones who are dwelling down, the earthlings. Tus katoi kuntas is from katoi keo. It's the present uh, accusative, present participle, accusative plural from katoi keo. So he is deceiving the earthlings, those that dwell down upon the earth, on account of the signs, diatas semea ha edathe, which was given him to do by the dragon, Satan, to do before the beast. Edathe is from didomi again, the aorist indicative passive third person singular. Notice that theta eta, we think of luo, eleuthane, eleuthes, and so forth, is part of the aorist passive. And then we continue. So he's doing signs which was given to him to do before the beast in elevating the emperor and in causing people to worship the emperor. Legon, tois katoi kusin epites ges, ekana to theria, that is, saying to the ones dwelling down upon the earth to make the image of the beast. In other words, it was given to him before the beast, saying to those that dwell upon the earth. Here again we have the participle accusative plural from katoi keo, to the ones who are dwelling upon the earth, uh, to make the image of the beast. Poiesai is your aorist active infinitive from poieo, to make the image of the beast, who is having the plague of the sword, and he lived. Uh, Eke is your present indicative active third person singular from echo, who is having the blow or the plague of the sword and lived. Etse sen from zao, the aorist indicative active third person singular. So he is doing a miracle to elevate the emperor worship and the first beast, Domitian. And Domitian then is the idea, possibly in John, is that here we have Nero brought back to life in Domitian, a Nero redivivus, a Nero revived, who had died and now who lives again, so to speak. Kai, verse 15, adate auto dunai numa te ekani tu theriu. And it was given to him to give a life to the beast. Dunai is from didomi. It's your present active infinitive from didomi. He was given to him to give life to the beast. Hena kai lale se he ekon tu theriu, that is, in order that also the image of the beast should speak, should appear alive. Lalese is your aorist subjunctive third person singular from laleo, and that he might do, poiese again is the aorist subjunctive third person singular, that he might do in order that as many, if they worship the image of the beast, as many as if they do not worship the image of the beast, that they might be killed. Here they have proskunesosin is the aorist subjunctive active third person plural from proskuneo. If they do not worship and bow down to emperor worship, the image of the beast, that they might be killed. Apoktantosin, which is your aorist passive subjunctive, a third person plural from apoktano. So, in other words, if they don't go along and worship the image of the beast and recognize the divinity of Domitian, this second beast, those that are the underlings supporting Domitian would be killed. And this could look at any type of dictators through history. The same thing, Domitian becoming, can I say, a type of that. And then he is making point A all. Point A, by the way, is your present indicative active third person singular from point O. He is making all the small and the great. Tus miklus kai tus megalus, kai tus plusius, kai tus petochus. That is the small and the great, and the rich and the poor. Kaitus eleuterus, and the free, kaitus doulos, and the slaves. In other words, covering all aspects of the Roman Empire, of society, in order that they might give, to them, hena dosen autois. This is from didomi, the aorist subjunctive third person plural, that they might give to them charagma, a mark, epites kerasauton, a mark upon their hands, upon their right hand, I should say, tes dexias, a epi ta metopan auton, and upon their foreheads, a mark. And slaves at this time were marked with marks relative to their owners, or their owners would show that they were slaves. And so the thought here is that he is giving a mark, that is, those who worship the image, and they're being, can I say, marked, as it were, as slaves to the emperor Domitian. And he goes on to say, and in order that they might not, no one might not notice kaihena me tis dunetai agorasai e polesai. That is, in order that no one might be able to buy or to sell. Agorasa is from agorazo. It's the aorist active infinitive, that no one might be able to buy or to sell, from poleo, aorist active infinitive, except ha ekon ta karagma ta anima tu theriu, except the one having the mark, the name of the beast. Only those who have the mark of the beast can actually buy and sell Etan arithman tu anamatas autu, or the number of his name. In other words, no one is able to buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast or the number of his name. It's interesting. Again, I appreciate the insight of Metzger at this point, where he writes as follows on page 76. Throughout the Roman Empire, every transaction of buying and selling, if it involved the transfer of money, meant handling imperial coins. Around the head, the emperor, on the coin were titles, including in some cases references to his being divine and worshipful. It is such coins that John refers to as bearing the mark of the beast, without which no one can buy or sell. So I think John, in this, can I say, apocalyptic way, is identifying uh, the emperor and what is happening. You cannot buy or sell unless you have a coin with his signature on it and the idea that he is divine. Consequently, Christians at that time, by resistance to the call of the emperor, would entail the very worst consequences, being subject to economic problems as well as to persecution. And this is on page 76. I appreciate his statement here. And he goes on to say those who conform to the demands of the state are given means to identify themselves so that they can claim the benefits due them uh, by having the mark on the right hand and upon the forehead. In other words, this is again a symbol of what a slave would have. And so, what John seems to be saying is one cannot buy or sell unless they have the coin with the mark of and the mark of the beast upon them at that time. That is, have given themselves over to emperor worship. And so he goes on, Hoder he Sophia Estin. And here is wisdom. Ha ekon nun pse fisato tan arithman tu theriu. Here is wisdom. The one who is having a mind, let him calculate. Spe fidzo means to calculate the number of the beast. Arithmas gar anthropu estin, for the number of a man is the number of the beast. Kai ha arithmas autu exa casioe exe canta hex. That is, the number, his number is 666. Now, this has caused a lot of discussion. Who in the world has that number? First of all, I think it is significant to say that 666 is showing that this is a mere human, not a divine Lord, as Domitian was claiming. And 666 is short of 7. But it's also interesting that we have gematria in Jewish uh, can I say, writings where numbers become important to teach certain things. And I'm thinking John is doing this here, and it's sort of like uh, Metzger gave the illustration on page 76 of the name Ada, A-D-A, and if we were looking at the English alphabet, A is the first letter, and D is the fourth letter, and A is the first again. So the numerical equivalent of Ada, he writes, is 1 plus 4 plus 1 equaling 6. And the same thing happens here with this number 666. And there are some manuscripts that also read 616. What are we finding when we see this? How do we understand this cryptogram? And what might be the way of uh, getting a handle on it? Well, the name Nero, Neron Kaiser, if we put that from the Hebrew alphabet, we end up with 666. We've been talking about a Nero redivivus, a Nero come back to life, so to speak, in Domitian. And it'd be like a Hitler come back to life in someone. And this is the thought here. And so Neron Kaiser is 666. And if you drop off Neron Kaiser, actually, if you drop off the N, you end up with Nero Kaiser, 616. And so let me just say a word about the number here. It is interesting. At the bottom of page 77, Metzger says these words. In the Hebrew alphabet, which consists of consonants only, the 10th letter has the numerical value of 10, but the 11th letter represents 20, and the following letters carry on by tens until 100. Therefore, the letters carry on by hundreds, like 200 and so forth. Thus, the full spelling of Nero Kaiser in Hebrew letters is NRWNQSR. And let me just summarize that from the Hebrew here. We first of all have N represented by noon, which is 50. And then we have the next letter, Resh. N is 50. Resh is 200. And then we have the third letter, which is the Vav. And the Vav is 6. So we have basically 50 is the noon, Resh is 200, and the Vav equals 6. So that would be Nero, and then if we wanted to put Neron, the next noon would be another 50, which is like transliterated as an N, and then we have the Q being 100. That is Kof in Hebrew, and that is really what it means. So Kof would be 100, And then we have the psalmic. Psalmic is the S, if we were transliterating it, which would be 60. And then we have resh again, which is 200. And so when we add these up, we end up with 666. If we drop off one of the noons, we end up then, as Metzger pointed out, with the 616. So this is probably, and I appreciate his comment on page 77, that if we add the numerical value of the Hebrew, spelling the name Neron Kaiser, we obtain 666. On the other hand, since his name can equally well be spelled without the first noon or in, if we omit the final noon, the total equals 616. There does not appear to be any other name or a name with a title that satisfies both 666 and 616, which is the reading of some manuscripts. So basically, I appreciate Metzger's work here, defining 666 as Nero come back to life, the former dictator, as it were, in Domitian, and claiming divinity. And the good news is, as we move on into chapter 14, we see the song of the 144,000. It's a tranquil scene, and they are rejoicing. And John sees the Lamb, that is Christ, standing on Mount Zion, a picture of the eternal Zion, with 144,000 of the redeemed. And we've already talked about the 144,000, and I would agree with Metzger here, as a symbolic number representing all of the Israel of God in the church, all believers who are remaining faithful and who don't defile themselves with women, meaning probably symbolically here with idolatry, by going after the pagan emperor worship that John is speaking of, looking forward to that eternal inheritance that awaits the church or the people of the Lord. But I'm going to stop here, and we'll get in to the song of the 144,000 then, which is looking at the victory song coming out of this time of struggle. So having looked at this, we could apply it, I believe, to the future as well as through all time. The emperor worship becomes, can I say, a picture or type of any leader that elevates himself above God and begins to persecute all who do not recognize his divinity. And this goes on all the way through history, but can well culminate in the second, close to the second coming of Christ, with the man of sin. In other words, that there could be many such as we look at world history, culminating in the final, we might say, Antichrist. So, by way of application. So, Rome, in a sense, becomes a type of the world system and how that someday Christ's kingdom is going to replace everything. And John wants his audience to worship Jesus as the only Lord, God, and Savior. And that is true through all time and through today in our lives. May we elevate Jesus Christ as the Lord and Master of our lives.